Now you will see 30 cool ideas for your homemade Lego pieces. Some of them I found on the internet, some were found in Lego sets, and the rest, of course, I came up especially for you. Well, with you, as always, Papa Lego, let's go.
In my room I be my cup, nutted in my sock.
I'm building a big fantasy city of Lego, and to make it more realistic, I have to look for and come up more and more new and interesting ideas for homemade crafts. This majestic city bears the name Carandir and is famous for its academy of magicians and renowned defenders of the city. Such settlements have always attracted many travelers, and one of them is the wandering bard Jack, who writes ballads about his travels and the heroes he meets on his way. At the entrance to the city, the gaze of travelers immediately falls on the majestic banners. One of these is, of course, a shield with crossed axes. It's quite easy to assemble one. You will need a cube for one pin with holes on all sides, as well as 4 short sticks of the same length, a shield, and 2 axe blades. If desired, you can replace one of the axes with a long spear, and the resulting structure can be hung over the entrance to the castle, the leader's house, and simply put as a decoration. Important guests or heroes of the city are greeted loudly and with music on the walls of the castle. If you did not have a pipe from the standard bearer at hand, then you can always assemble it yourself from just 3 simple parts. And to accompany the heroes in their combat campaigns, I gathered a drummer. Unfortunately, I didn't have any details of a different color. However, you can easily repeat this design. You'll have to tinker just to hang it. And if you do not have such a Lego part, then you can replace it with an ordinary small rubber band. Such, by the way, are also found in Lego. After walking inside the city gate, Jack immediately encountered the stern gazes of the city guards. Their ranks were joined by representatives of different peoples and local settlements. In ancient times, outside of combat, knights wore shields on a belt behind their backs. But how to make it with Lego? We'll need a little rubber band again. With one side we pass it through the handle of the shield and tighten it into a loop. The second end clings to the head of the minifigure. Here, if desired, you can also hang additional weapons. Now your warriors will also be more interesting and realistic. Well, the defenders of the city are armed for a reason. Carandir is constantly in danger. The eastern tribes of the orcs increasingly began to attack local settlements, and in the south the alliance of clans seized the southern swamps altogether, driving out the locals from there. For them, I also figured out how to mount weapons behind their backs. This custom was invented by the ChatGPT neural network, and you can see the rest of the minifigures made by it in the last video by a tooltip. Taking a long chain, I wrapped it around the figure of 8, hooking it around the neck and belt of the orc, so it looks more severe, and you can attach additional weapons from behind. To counter such a threat, the defenders of the city must be trained and constantly improve their skills. In one of the previous videos, I already showed you how to assemble a mannequin for training knights, and now I'll show you a target for archery practice. Using similar details, I made several variants of targets. The first is a more modern coloring book and with a printed detail. The second is more medieval because they were just made of straw, and it will be easier to repeat such a target from ordinary details. In order not to constantly run for new arrows, you can put a whole barrel full of them right next to it. While playing my favorite Mount and Blade game, I noticed a similar idea during the siege of the castle, and I found it interesting. Now my defenders of the fortress have similar barrels on the towers and walls. Well, if you don't have not only a target but even a bow, then you can assemble it from the handle of a Jedi sword and a pair of curved branches. Your warriors will be able to find it on the rack with the rest of the weapons. Here is also an interesting idea how to make a Morgenstern for your knights. After I got a Lego castle, I got some racks for weapons. Before that, I didn't even think about making a similar armory in my fantasy city. But now my warriors cannot be afraid of a lack of weapons. If you have interesting ideas for which you would like to see the next video, be sure to tell us about them in the comments. And also, wanted to say thank you for your donations to the Super Thanks You feature. You help the channel grow, and thanks to donations, new videos become better. The city is surrounded by a defensive wall made of wood, but the stockade is not the only use of such details. The shape of these cubes looks exactly like a plowed field. This will be a great solution if you decide to build your fantasy city. Well, to make it easier for the inhabitants of the settlement to cultivate the land, I assembled a medieval plow. A few sticks, claws, Jedi swords, and a couple of standard parts, and in just a couple of minutes farmers get a convenient tool for plowing the soil. In the fall, they will be able to harvest the ripened harvest from these fields. Among them is wheat, which can be made from details of a beige bush and numerous flax collected from ordinary blue flowers. There were no combines in ancient times, so to make it easier to harvest, I made a hand scythe the peasants. The harvested flax goes straight from the field to the weaving workshop, where the settlers spin threads and sew clothes. First, a local spinning wheel using an old spinning wheel makes a thread. I've been wanting to assemble a similar medieval machine for a very long time, and thanks to this video, I finally did it. Its design is actually quite simple, and you can easily repeat it. Also, the owner of the shop keeps several sheep on the farm to cut their wool, collected on a special rack, and then make warm clothes out of wool. Pieces of wool can be made from ordinary white flowers. Well, for noble knights and nobles, noble cloaks and banners are painted and embroidered here from the raw materials obtained. Jack is not the only traveler in this city, and where a lot of people gather, merchants immediately appear there. They come and sail here from a variety of countries and cities, and to avoid the attack of robbers, they often choose river routes. To assemble a merchant ship, you can use two standard boats by connecting them with the rear sides. Here, on the square, wandering monks and priests find a place for themselves, who read their sermons for local residents. They are not without religious attributes. A book with scriptures and a cross assembled from just 3 parts.
In my room, I be my cup, nutted in my sock.
But today Jack was incredibly lucky. Traveling circus performers perform in the city. Among them there is a jester on high stilts. They can be collected in several ways, and a dancing bear who was taught to dance in a terrible way, and a pyromancer breathing fire. This fireball can be used as an imitation of magic for your sorcerers, as well as a spectacular spectacle for the city square. Well, to make it even more fun, locals and guests of the city could drop into the tavern and have a glass of selected mead, a low-alcohol drink made from honey from a local apiary. Old beehives are a bit like birdhouses, and you can easily make the same ones so that you can also open a tavern in your settlement. And you can supplement the apiary with ordinary yellow beehives. Realizing that Jack would definitely stay in this city for the night, he hurried to send a message to his beloved, telling in a letter about everything he saw today. And yes, there's even a local post office in this city where I use owls, just like in Harry Potter. I have assembled a special stand for them, and if desired, owls can be replaced with ordinary pigeons or falcons for use in hunting. But not all birds here live outside the will. To detail your homemade craft, you can use a nest assembled from a fur collar. Now we need to rent a room in a local hotel, so as not to be on the street at night and not to sleep with horses in the stable. When he got to the local hotel, Jack noticed the beautiful windows made of mosaics. At the entrance, he was kindly offered to take off his outer clothes. The smell of fresh pies came from the kitchen, where a local cook was cooking pies with a rolling pin. And after going to the reception desk, he was quickly recorded in a book and given room keys. Going outside to go have fun, Jack saw residents running in panic. Stopping one of them, he frantically asked what was going on, to which he shouted, "Golem." In the last video about customizations, many asked in the comments to show the instructions of this homemade. The main ideas that will help you assemble the same stone giant are the use of similar connections between body parts, ball bearings on the legs and conventional connectors on the hands. A big plus will be the presence of a large number of small gray, dark gray, and olive details. I didn't have enough details to assemble the brushes, so I made a club out of my left hand and somehow a brush on my right hand. However, the most difficult thing was to come up with a miniature but realistic face. And then I found on the internet an interesting idea of a homemade stone head from the famous Easter Island. If you would like to see more detailed instructions of this golem in order to assemble an exact copy or study the design in more detail, then be sure to write in the comments, and then I will shoot special video on assembling the golem. Well, to defeat such an unprecedented creature, you will need a squad of fearless heroes. I will definitely make them in the following videos, so subscribe to the channel so as not to miss them. Well, with you as always was Papa Lego. For all you cool minifigs, and I'm not saying goodbye.